Ever ruined a shot and felt like throwing your camera away? Well, we've all been there. But what if I told you that those mistakes are the key to becoming a better filmmaker? And whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera filming like I am with this street videography, mistakes are inevitable, but they're also invaluable. But this is what actually makes us grow as a creator, you know, as a videographer or a photographer. Now, I was doing street videography and I wanted to make this video about still frame videography, essentially the same as photography, but pretty much just not moving the camera at all and really trying to slow things down and capturing exactly what is in that frame and making that frame extremely powerful. But there are a few issues that I ran into, and essentially this was just a whole learning experience, and hopefully you guys will learn something out of this, and obviously I will learn something from this, because mistakes is how you actually grow as a creator, and I'm going to show you guys how. So the first mistake I actually made was not bringing a tripod. Now, I just was thinking that this was going to be very similar to street photography. You know, you pretty much just hold that shot, you click that frame, and you're away to go. But street videography and trying to capture a still video for 3 to 5 seconds, handheld, is pretty near impossible to keep 110% steady. Even if you tuck your elbows in, keep the camera nice and close, have a whole bunch of points of contact, there's still going to be movement, and you need a tripod. And I didn't bring a tripod. So this is what really kind of, bugged me a lot. And then when I brought the footage into post-production, I saw how shaky this was. I was like, no, it's kind of ruined. But this is the thing, I actually used an anamorphic lens on my Sony FX30 as well. And we all know Sony don't actually support anamorphic lenses when it comes to stability. I mean, if I did have the Lumix S5 II, this actually has stability with anamorphic lenses, but it also has the tripod mode. So I could have put it into tripod mode, handheld it, and it would have been perfectly steady. But these are the things that we need to learn for next time. Next time I might actually bring the Lumix S5 IIX, or I'll just bring a tripod, and that will fix that issue that I had. But this also brings me on to my next point, and that is taking your time. Now, because I was handheld, I wasn't able to take my time. Like, let's say for instance, this bird shot, there was a crow on a gargoyle, and I thought this is a great shot, I need to frame this up. And I framed it up, and the bird literally just didn't move, it stayed there. And I was like, come on, please fly off, fly, please, it's gonna make the frame so good. And it was at least 45 seconds, and I was like, no, I'm hitting stop, it's perfectly fine, it's not gonna fly off. And then I was like, you know what, bugger it, I'm just gonna hit record. And as soon as I hit record, it flew off, and I was like, oh no. If I had pre-capture, that would have actually been good, but if I just held the shot just that little bit longer and took my time, I would have got the shot and it would have been perfectly fine. But obviously it reverts back to the first one, is because it was handheld, it wasn't exactly steady, and I couldn't just chuck it on a tripod and just bide my time and wait for the perfect moment. But this is what you learn. These are the things is what makes you better when you actually go out next time. And just circling back to taking your time, this is pretty crucial when it comes to street photography and videography, especially with the videography that I was doing, making sure that I have that still frame and something walking, through the frame or exiting the frame, just capturing those perfect moments. Taking your time is just so crucial. And that brings me to my next tip that I pretty much learned when it comes to, street videography, and that is movement. Trying to find as much movement as possible within that still frame, especially with the whole concept that I was trying to do with a very still frame, but trying to get the movement within that frame, that is the most important, because if you didn't have any movement within the frame, it would essentially just look like a video. So you really have to make sure you compose your shot that there is actually going to be movement, cars going back and forward, or people walking in the background, something entering in the foreground. There's just a whole bunch of elements that you really need to look for when you're actually doing street videography. And it would obviously make it a lot easier if there was fog or smoke. There's a whole bunch of different elements that you can add in your video with that kind of movement. And there was also one thing that I sort of encountered, and that came down to framing. Like, sometimes you like, oh, well, should I center frame this, or should I put this in the rule of thirds? Should I make the frame dirty, or should I make the frame completely clean and, very minimalistic? These are the things that you really need to do. And obviously it comes down to trial and error, because the first time you literally could take that exact same scene and frame it a whole bunch of different ways, and one of them may actually look better than the other, or one may actually look better than all of them. The one thing that we have to remember is that we're actually filming on digital cameras, and we obviously are recording on SD cards or Type A cards, CF Express. You get the point. We're actually recording on a digital format, and essentially we have a lot of footage that we can actually utilize, and we're not, you know, on film cameras, and we are limited to a certain amount of film. So we can actually hold that shot for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or take multiple shots of the exact same scene. So we could actually take one shot that is completely center framed. We could take another shot that is in the framed rule of thirds, one shot that is kind of dirty, you know, dirtying up the frame, making sure something's in the foreground so we can create a little bit of depth. We can actually choose a whole bunch of these different options and see what actually works in post-production. And then obviously we can see what works, and then for next time we know exactly what works and what doesn't, what to do for next time, and obviously what not to do for next time. And really what it comes down to is just experimenting and trying different framings and seeing what works. Because if you haven't tried it, you don't actually know if it's going to work. I mean, sure, you've probably seen so many people do street photography and see their framing, but without actually practicing it yourself, you just don't know what's going to work. And look, I guess the best tip is just bring a whole bunch of your SD cards or Type A cards, and just make sure you've got enough space for that. And obviously you can delete it in camera or go into post-production and delete it obviously after. You don't actually have to keep every single piece of footage that you actually capture, but you know, you may as well just, while you're in that moment, frame it up a few different times and then just see which one works. Now look, the last one happens to come down to resilience. Like, mistakes are extremely frustrating. Like, coming home and seeing all my footage was shaky and not perfectly steady was really annoying, but I obviously did throw it into post-production. I stabilized the footage as best as I possibly could in Premiere Pro, and it kind of worked. It did well, but still, you know, these things that actually makes you a better cinematographer or a better photographer if it comes down to, you know, street videography or street photography. And these I suppose key aspects of what you've actually learned can actually help you on future jobs as well. Because the whole point of this video is I wanted to make sure that I can make one single frame so much more powerful than trying to, you know, do a whole bunch of camera movements. Because what I did notice is that I'm obsessed with moving the camera. I'm obsessed with handheld shots in my shoots, and I never throw anything on a tripod. But this is how you actually become a better cinematographer, is you can make that still frame so much more powerful without moving. And, you know, having movement with intention. So rather than just moving the camera just because, you need to have motivated movement that's actually going to help tell the story a lot better. But you know, at the end of the day, making all these mistakes is what helps build that resilience, and this is what's going to make you better, you know, in 2025. And that's the only way that's actually going to make us better. We could literally sit in front of our computers and watch YouTube all day, or we could go to university like I did and waste $30,000 on a university degree, and we won't learn anything without getting our hands on the tools, getting in the trenches and making those mistakes. This is what's going to make us better in our filmmaking journey. So anyway, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I will be bringing a little bit more photography on this channel, because this is pretty much, you know, where this channel sort of started off when it came to photography. And I just want you guys to come along on my journey and learn with me, which is, you know, pretty cool and exciting for 2025. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, let's get it.